Okay, I'm Dan Harrelson back again, previewing another bowl game for the 2011-2012 bowl docket. And on the first day of bowl season is the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, and which will showcase the Ohio Bobcats versus the Utah State Aggies. And here with me today to preview and break down this game tomorrow is play-by-play announcer for Utah State, and his name is Al Lewis. Al, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Enjoying Boise.
So how is it out there in Boise? I mean, I guess you've seen the blue turf and all that great stuff. First reaction to the turf out there?
Well, Boise's been in our conference with us before, so Utah State's played here before. And in fact, Utah State won the very first time they ever played on a blue turf in 1996. And since then, they haven't won here. Of course, one of those times was in a bowl game. Utah State was in the first bowl game that was ever played in Boise in 1997. They played Cincinnati in the old Humanitarian Bowl, which has now been renamed this year to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. So they played the very first Idaho Potato Bowl in Ohio. But the blue turf is always kind of interesting. We had an old coach, John L. Smith, when we first came to the bowl game, always told us that they had a bunch of birds that always tried to land on the field because they thought they were landing on water. So it's unique, it's fun. So, it's always been neat to come up here and play. And, of course, most of the time, you come up here and play Boise State on this turf. It's not very easy.
Well, you guys, Utah State, of course, made a huge splash back on Saturday, September 3rd, at Auburn against the defending national champions, losing 42-38. Probably should have won the game. Talk about after that game, and even within that game, what was the momentum after that game, and how sad was it to drop that game at the last few seconds?
Well, it really devastated a lot of guys who've been here a long time because they'd actually played Oklahoma a one-point game, or a one-touchdown game the season before to open the year. So they felt like, hey, this was our chance to beat somebody big and break through on the schedule and all that. And they badly did outplay Auburn and ended up with the last couple seconds giving up a touchdown and then an onside kick that Auburn recovered in sports. So I think everybody was pretty much on the team down, figuring, hey, we could have won this game. Then they came home and played a 1AA team and routed them in Weber State. So I really think it was the next game against Colorado State. And when they had that game won and fumbled a punt late in the game to give Colorado State a chance, and then went to overtime, and then they lost in double overtime, I think these guys started to then wonder, hey, is there something wrong with us? We can't figure it out. And then they lose another game on a Hail Mary to BYU, and then they beat Wyoming in a blowout game against a good team in Wyoming, as it turns out. So, they're really sitting there, and then they turn around and lose their first two conference games. And I really think these guys, the one thing that turned them around was right before they played Hawaii, the team kind of got together separate of the coaches, and they said, hey, the coaches are teaching us the right way to do these things, and we're just not thinking the right plays, not executing the right time. They made that commitment. They do that. They get out and get behind 28-7 against Hawaii, but they lose their starting quarterback. All of a sudden, they rallied behind the backup quarterback and have never looked back since. They played an exciting brand of football all year long. This has been the best offensive team Utah State's had for a long, long time. They're a really good running team. And then Adam Kennedy has now given them, it seems like, more of a downhill or a vertical passing game, I guess you'd call it, to get the ball up and down the field. So all of a sudden now, Utah State feels like, hey, we can play with anybody we have on the schedule this year. And we're fortunate now to get a chance to go to a bowl. Utah State hasn't been in a bowl since they were here for that first bowl game in 1997, so they're really excited about this chance. But I think the players themselves turned this whole season around in that Hawaii game, and they've never looked back. It's been great since.
Yeah, speaking of that Hawaii game, that was actually the first victory in a current 5-game winning streak for the Aggies. So that's very great news. But looking at the stats, 277 yards averaged on the ground, it looks like Utah State likes to pound the ball out. Do you think that may be something we'll see tomorrow during the bowl game?
They'll try to, and they will do it. That's the way Utah State plays. Now, Ohio has been good against the rush this year. I think Utah State's dealing is maybe Ohio hasn't seen the kind of running game Utah State can give them. Utah State has 3 really good running backs. Robert Turbin's the best. But the other 2 guys are both breakaway threats and have had big plays. Michael Smith and Kerwin Williams. So Utah State, I think, will try will obviously run the football. I think now they feel like with Adam Kennedy as their quarterback, they're better again throwing the ball, at least up the field. But I think the question in this game is going to be if Ohio's defense, which looks good against the run, can slow down Utah State's running game, and all of a sudden make Utah State be a little bit uncomfortable. And the other side of it in this game, I really think, is Ohio has a very balanced offense. Their quarterback, Tyler Kettleton, is very, very good. Can throw and run. So Utah State's defense is going to have to keep them out of the end zone. That's the one thing. They've given up yards defensively the last couple of weeks against Hawaii and New Mexico State in the last couple of games, but they just didn't let anybody in the end zone crazy. And as a result, they've been able to outscore them. But Utah State will try to run. And again, that'll be the big thing. Can Ohio State stop Utah State's run? And then how does Utah State's defense do against Ohio's balanced offense?
Well, Al, looking at the 2011 schedule for Utah State, Utah is not on the schedule. Is that something new, or is Utah State, will they be playing Utah in the near future? Or what's going on with that rivalry?
Yep, we are back with Utah next year, and it's back to a home and home. What it did was Utah State gave Utah 2 years out of the rivalry, and part of that was Utah had an opportunity to play Notre Dame 2 seasons ago, and so Utah State said, okay, go ahead and take that, we'll drop off the game there. And then this past year, I think it was kind of a 2-year deal, giving Utah maybe a chance at another non-conference game that they had a chance to play. I don't know how it worked out. But Utah State are back on the schedule starting next year, and they're going to play home and home. Let's see, next season Utah plays in Logan, so we'll renew the series with Utah at Utah State next year, and then Utah State will continue to have their series with BYU. That will continue next year as well, and for the years to come. And so now the question is going to be, with our conference losing one conference game, Utah State's going to have to come up with one more non-conference game the next couple of years. Is the way it'll work out, because the WAC will only have 7 football teams starting next year.
Yeah, and looking at Utah State's defense, only giving up about 128 yards on the ground, do you think that's something that can be stopped against Ohio and Frank Solich, who usually does like to run the football?
I think Ohio will probably try to establish a run like Utah State will. Utah State's been good against the run this year. Nobody has really run big numbers against them. Nevada's a very good running team, and Utah State did a pretty good job against Nevada. So that's been the strength of Utah State's defense. I think the one vulnerable point has been they have given up a lot of plays on the outside with their pass defense. So again, Kettleton throwing the ball to Lahan Brazil, the wide receiver at Ohio, will probably be something to look at, because Brazil seems to get a 20-yard catch in every single game, and Utah State can't let him get any big plays like that and get down the field.
Well, Al, thank you so much for coming on short notice, and hopefully a 6-game winning streak will cap off the season for the Aggies and improve the win mark to 8-5 for the 2011 college football season.
Yeah, the only other time they won 6 in a row in football was back to 1993, and that's the only other time they won a bowl game. That was in the Las Vegas Bowl. So I hope that can continue for the Aggies, because it's kind of fun to go to a bowl game first time in 14 years.
Well, how about that? Well, I know you're enjoying yourself out there, and have fun tomorrow, and good luck to you guys.
Knowing Utah State, it'll go to the wire, probably. That's the way they seem to like to play them.
Okay, Al, well, take care,